And now, you're listening to the Mad Dad Podcast with your host, Gabe Gonzalez.
Hey everyone, today millions of Americans and people all over the world are waking up to the same nonsensical news and media that floods their social circles and media outlets every day. It's time to flip the script and embrace the truth, freedom, and faith-based value. That's what this podcast is all about. We're here to offer you truth and motivation. I'm your host, Gabe, and you're listening to the Mad Dad Podcast. Let's get mad. Let's get motivated. What's up, everybody? This is Gabe, and today is Mad Dad Monday. Let's go! If you are new to the Mad Dad Podcast, we want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in and giving us your time today. If you're a returning viewer or listener, we also want to thank you for your support and for your loyalty to the Mad Dad Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have some exciting content lined up for you. Before I get into today's content, I want to share with you how you can watch or view this podcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have accounts on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, and our most recent platform that we have now joined is rumble.com. For those of you who are not familiar with Rumble, rumble.com is an online video streaming and video uploading platform very similar to YouTube, except that those who run Rumble believe in the freedom of speech. As you know, in the news, in big tech companies like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Google and others, they're censoring conservatives who are speaking out against the mainstream agenda. And so I'm super excited to have joined Rumble and to be posting our content on Rumble. For now, we're still on YouTube, but I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, go to Rumble and watch our videos there. Subscribe on Rumble because we want to support companies who believe in the freedom of speech. So if you haven't already, go to rumble.com and check out our channel there. You can find links to all of our platforms on our website, maddadpodcast.com. Hit that subscribe button. Pause the video right now. Hit the subscribe button. That's really going to help us out. Visit our website, maddadpodcast.com, and join the tribe. If you sign up for our weekly newsletter, you'll get a 10% discount in our merch shop, and you can get an awesome Mad Dad mug or one of our awesome core value t-shirts. Check it out, maddadpodcast.com. Let's jump into our Mad Dad snapshot. All right, so in the news this week, there's been a lot of things happening all over the world, a lot of things happening in the country, but I think it's important for us to start talking about the 2024 presidential election. We are literally less than a year away from that election, and I think that over the next probably 10 months, we are going to really start to see a lot of disruption start to happen in the United States, more than what we've seen already. And the disruption is going to be because the left is going to do everything they can in their power to prevent Donald Trump from becoming the next president. Whether or not you like Trump or not, you support Trump or not, that's your prerogative, that's your opinion, that's your right to support him or not to. But I do want to just point out that I think it's so important that every American, every voting aged American really starts to pay attention to what's happening, really starts to do their research. Please do not use TikTok and Instagram as your source of information for how you're going to choose who you're going to vote for, or what party you're going to support, or what candidate you're going to support. Because I'm telling you that all of these companies, all of these big tech companies, social media companies, they're all ran by a bunch of left-wing radicals, with the exception of Twitter, or now X, which was bought out by Elon Musk, right? But my point is that start to really do your research. Start to really dig into candidates and find out who these people are, what they stand for, what their policies are, and vote, right? Because I'm telling you, I am like shouting from the rooftops. This is arguably going to be the most important election in the history of the United States. Why do I say that? Because our freedoms, as we know it, as we know them in the United States of America, our freedoms are under attack like they've never been before. And if the Democratic Party wins again, I promise you, you think what we're seeing in the world is crazy now, it's only going to get worse. And so I think every single person, if you are, you know what, I'm not even going to say if you're Republican, I'm going to say if you're a Christian, you need to really start thinking about what's happening in this country, because we are just one election away. Mark my words, we are one election away from our freedoms being taken away from us as we've known it. The future of our country, my children's future, your children's future, it's on the line. And people say, oh, well, is it really that crazy? Yes, it is. It's that intense. It's that important. I do want to share some numbers with you, which I think are important to know. Trump is up in the Republican Party by 61.4% of the Republican vote. That means 61.4% of Republicans say they're going to vote for Trump again. DeSantis has 12.2% of the vote. Nikki Haley has 11.2%. Ramaswamy 4.5%. And I don't even know if Chris Christie is worth mentioning at this point, but he has 2.8%. I'm pretty sure he's going to be out of the primaries here pretty soon. But it's interesting because Trump, man, he is winning by a landslide. I think one of the big questions that is in a lot of people's minds is this going to come back to Trump and DeSantis? Most likely it will. Now, Trump versus Biden, that's a whole other story. These polls came out this morning, actually. Biden's approval ratings within his own party, within the Democratic Party, according to the latest polls, Biden has an approval rating of 33%. With Democratic voters, people who voted for him, only 33% say that they would vote for him again. His disapproval rating is 64%. So Trump is absolutely destroying Biden. And I think that the Democratic Party is going to push Biden out, and that they're going to put somebody up who they think is going to actually be able to have a chance against either Trump or DeSantis. Most likely, I'm assuming that it's going to be Gavin Newsom, but we'll see. So again, no matter who you support, I want you to start thinking about voting. Voting is super important. You're not just voting for a candidate. You're not just voting for a party. You're voting for your freedoms. You're voting for your future, and it's super important. All right, for our up-to-date segment today, I want to talk to you about the rise of the Dinks. Yes, the Dinks. What is a Dink? DINK stands for dual income, no kid couple. Now, this trend recently blew up on TikTok after a video was posted by a lady who has been posting what she's calling her DINK vlogs. And it has over 33 million views on TikToks. And basically, it showcases a lifestyle where there are kid-free couples, and it shows them traveling the world, like doing all of these, supposedly fun activities, like going to the beach and surfing and drinking Mai Tais on the beach, and going to Costco and eating Costco pizza and going for walks, and like all of these like leisure type activities. And in these videos, which I'm going to show you a few in just a minute, in these videos, they're like, I'm a dink and I can go to Costco and buy $400 worth of Costco and also eat Costco pizza because I'm a dink. And then the guy's like, I'm a dink. I get to come home and go out to eat with my girlfriend because I'm a dink. And they're like, basically what they're trying to portray is that a life without having kids is a life that allows them to live these very materialistic consumerism lifestyles and experience and enjoy lavish luxuries of life because they don't have kids. And let me I want to really emphasize this, okay? This is not talking about people who deal with infertility, okay? And this is not a shot at people who struggle with infertility. I'm not talking this. That's not what this movement is. This is really rising up in the Gen Z and millennial generations, and it's a cultural shift that is being put out there as propaganda. The idea that having kids is this massive burden that is going to basically leave you a poor pauper for the rest of your life. These people are choosing not to have children. But look, and I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here today because we need to understand why these things are so important, why these things are radical. Look, at the end of the day, every person has the choice and has the right whether or not they want to have kids or not. And I am not going to sit here and say if you choose not to have children that you are less of a person, that you're going to enjoy life less, or that you're evil or not. No. Some people don't want to have kids. Okay, that's fine. No one is telling you that you should have kids, and that that you only experience life happiness if you have kids. I'm not saying that. The problem with the DINK movement is not about people not having kids. It's about the propaganda style of communication where they are trying to make it seem like by choosing to have kids, you're choosing poverty. By choosing to have kids, you're choosing to not enjoy the things of life. That kids are a burden that prevent you from actually being able to live your life to the fullest. And this is the problem, because this ideology, what it's doing is it's attacking the foundation of the nuclear family. It's attacking. This is how I see it. This is just one more thing that is coming from the left, and that is coming from these radical ideologies that are designed to break apart the family, to break apart the institution of a family, a husband and a wife, a father and a mother with children. And here's the problem that I have. If you don't want to have kids, fine, don't have kids. But don't try to force your idea on the rest of society that if you have kids, you're somehow living a lesser life, or that your life, that you're going to be poor, that you're not going to be able to enjoy anything in life. And this is what's crazy. Like, first of all, listen, they have different names, right? There's different types of dinks. You can't make this stuff up. You have a standard dink, which is a dual income, no kid couple, right? Two working adults who are saying, I'm not having kids. Then you have a sink. Can you imagine? Hey, I'm a sink, man. I identify as a sink. Bunch of idiots. A sink is a single income person with no kids, right? So basically a single adult. Now they want to be called sinks. Or there could be like a dad that works, or see, I said dad. It's not even a dad. A guy that works, right? And the girl doesn't. She just sits at home all day and makes TikTok videos or something, right? Okay, well then they're a sink family. Single income, no kid family. But it gets worse than that, man. If you thought sink was dumb, this is crazy. There's dinkwads. DINKWAD. Dual income, no kids with a dog. I promise you guys, look this up, okay? Go to my show notes, click on the links to these articles. You can't make this stuff up. There's literally people out there that say, I'm a dinkwad, okay? We're a dual income couple, a guy and a girl that work. We don't have kids, but we have a dog. First of all, hello, having a dog is still costing you money. I have two of them. I know they cost a lot of money to take care of, to feed. You have to walk them. You have to spend time. It's basically like having kids. And then there's a dink whack. DINKWAC. Double income, no kids with a cat. Guys, do you see how stupid this is? Do you realize this? How I feel like the people in this generation who subscribe to these identities, they're really lost people. They really don't know who they are. No one ever gave them direction in their life. No one ever told them that they have a purpose. Because if you walk around proudly saying, I'm a dinkwad, I'm a dinkwhack, we're dinkwhacks. No, you're a quack is what you are. Dinking is stinking thinking. That's what I'm going to put. I'm going to make a t-shirt. You guys are a bunch of it's ignorance. It's nonsense. And the crazy thing is that these trends are blowing up all over TikTok, especially TikTok, which is, by the way, the #1 platform for people under the age of 18 to be on. Bunch of kids. Now, here's what they claim. Okay, here's what Dinks claim, the DINK movement. This is what they claim. That it's a lifestyle where they can make up to 6 figures where they can spend their money, have their pets, and they can travel. And that no matter what variation of dink that there is or that they are, that it comes down to the idea that having kids prevents them from being able to buy stuff. Okay, I want you to watch some of these videos. Let's watch what some of these dinks, right? These dinkwads, these dingbats, I mean dink whacks. Let's watch what they have to say.
Dinks, it's dual income, no kids.
We're dinks. We get into snobby hobbies like skiing and golfing.
We're dinks. We can go to Florida.
What are you talking about being dinks? Well, I'm freshly married and I'm going to talk about it. Here's our life as dinks in our early 30s. No shocker here, folks. Today we went to Costco.
We get asked daily when we plan on having kids.
We're dinks. Of course we're going to go out to eat every night after work.
We're dinks. We don't have to ask our family for financial help or to watch our kid when we want to go out.
We're dinks. We're going to go to Costco and buy all the snacks in bulk that we want.
We're dinks. We have disposable income to spend on whatever we would like and don't have to spend on a kid.
We're dinks. I'm going to go to every football game and play 18 holes whenever I want.
Can you believe that? Do you believe this nonsense? This idea that because you don't have kids, that your life is somehow better off. First of all, that's completely ignorant. I have 4 kids. And guess what? I have a very fulfilled life. We get to go on vacation too. We get to go to Costco too. As a matter of fact, I recently took my whole family to Costco. We went to Costco and we stopped and ate at the pizza court. Oh my gosh, really? Yes. Why? Because it's completely ignorant to think that because you don't have kids, that somehow you get to enjoy the luxury of Costco pizza. You can get a Costco pizza and a drink for under $5. You can't even get that at McDonald's. Come on, this is ridiculous. But the bigger issue is this. It's not even about being able to, go on vacations. It's the idea that materialism, consumerism, that is the meaning of life. Let me ask you a question. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't want to sound preachy, but let me ask the dinks a question, right? These people who subscribe to this idea. Okay, let's say you get to travel the world. You and your other dink, you guys get to make all this money. You're making, $150K, $200K a year. You're not spending money on kids, and you get to travel the world. You go to Paris, you go to Italy, you go to Greece, you do all of these amazing things because you don't have the burden of kids. You get to go to Costco, you get to go on walks, you get to go and do things, you get to go surfing, you get to do all of these amazing things. When you're in your last days of your life, who do you have to take care of you? When you're laying on your deathbed, who's going to be standing there mourning your loss? Nobody. This is ridiculous, man. What do you think, Dink? Dink, what do all the dinks think? The idea that materialism brings happiness is absurd. That's some stinking thinking. Okay, let me read to you. Okay, you want to subscribe to the idea that not having kids brings fulfillment? Okay, what about Elon Musk? Elon Musk is probably one of the richest guys in the world. He's a multi-billionaire. He has 5 kids, by the way. You know what he says?
Nothing will make you happier than having kids. It will absolutely improve your happiness level to have kids. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't rewarding instinctively to have kids, we wouldn't have them.
Yes.
So I think that's important to understand. You will absolutely be happier if you have kids. Absolutely.
That's coming from one of the richest men in the world. He says, kids are awesome. You should all have kids. Do you realize what's wrong with this? And here's the part that really gets me so fired up about this, is that because these are trends that are blowing up on social media, young kids who have a future and a hope, they watch this crap. And you know what they think? Oh, I should become a dink too. Let me read to you some tweets. Kennedy Adams on Twitter says, I always thought I would want to have kids eventually later in my life, but ever since I saw a TikTok of a dink, double income with no kids, couple, I'm starting to think that there's more in life for me. Why do I let TikTok invade my thoughts like this? This girl's having a conundrum because she saw a video of this couple filming each other as they're walking down the street, claiming to be dinks and living this luxurious life. She's having this conundrum about life, and she literally says, why do I let TikTok invade my thoughts like this? That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what this is about. Invading the thoughts of young minds and convincing them that a happy life cannot be had if you have kids. That's exactly what they're doing. They're brainwashing an entire generation of young people to believe that if you have kids, you're going to miss out on the good things in life. This is absolutely insane to me. Listen to this quote from a Dink couple. It says, yes, we're Dinks. We can buy things. We can consume. Look at all the consuming we do. We are dedicated consumers. You dumb parents with your dumb children can't possibly devote as much of your life to buying and eating, which is literally the only thing that we care about in this world. Wow, what a purpose-driven life. The only thing you care about is having stuff and getting fat. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. It's insane. The idea that life is more meaningful because you can buy things. Worse, the idea that children take away from a meaningful life. I'm getting like so fired up right now. It's making me so fired up because this is stupidity 101. Trying to brainwash children and young people to believe that you shouldn't have kids because if you have kids that your life is going to be miserable. Let me tell you something. I'm a dad, and right now I'm a mad dad. I'm a dad who has 4 beautiful, amazing children. And let me tell you something. My life has never been more meaningful as being a father, as being a dad. Some of the most meaningful moments of my life, the greatest moments of my life has been being a dad. I have 2 boys, 2 girls. Being their dad is the most important thing in my life. Because I'm a father, I'm driven to work and to provide. I'm driven to be a better man. I'm driven to become a good example for them. I'm driven to look out for their future and to give them good things. I work hard because I'm a dad. It's one of my greatest motivations. And you're going to sit here and try and convince me that having kids is a letdown? This is crazy to me. Let me tell you something. This is why this is so concerning. And I want you to hear me out. Okay. You may not agree with me initially, but I want you to hear me out. When I look at this issue, the rise of the Dinks and what it's doing to our society and the potential ramifications that this has, this concerns me greatly. And I'm going to tell you why. Right now on the world stage, there's the news of the war with Israel, right? There's all this talk in the news about genocide. Genocide is the murdering, it's the complete annihilation of a race of people. And I don't think anybody in their right mind would agree that genocide is okay at all. I don't think people would agree that wiping out an entire race or an entire civilization is in any way justifiable. The only people who think that are demon-possessed, completely evil people who want to destroy the world, okay? And they're out there. But I'm saying, like, normal, your average American, no one would say, like, oh, yeah, I think genocide is okay. Let me ask you a question. Okay, talking about the Dinks. What if you could commit, or what if someone, not you, what if someone could commit mass genocide without ever actually having to kill someone? Think about it. If you could convince an entire generation or a large population to stop having kids, you've effectively committed genocide. You're ending the future of that generation. This is like next level warfare on humanity. This is like brainwashing propaganda 101. You don't believe me? And I'll tell you what. All of this is part of the foundation that is being laid for America to eventually become a socialist and ultimately a communist country. You say, oh, Gabe, that's crazy. I'll prove it to you. Okay, I'm going to read to you an excerpt from an article that was written in 1920 by Alexandra Kollontai, who was a Russian communist. She was a Marxist. Okay, and I just want you to bear with me, but I want to read to you an excerpt from this publication that was produced on November 2nd, 1920, titled Communism and the Family. This lady was a Marxist. She was a commie. She was a huge voice in that time for the Communist Party. I'm going to read to you. These are her words. You ready? The communist society considers the social education of the rising generation to be one of the fundamental aspects of the new life. Talking about the new life under communism. The old family, narrow and petty, where the parents quarrel and are only interested in their only in their offspring, is not capable of educating the new person. Communist society sees that the old type of family is breaking up and that all the old pillars which supported the family as a social unit are being removed. The domestic economy is dying, and the working class parents are unable to take care of their children or provide them with sustenance and education. Communist society has this to say to the working woman and working man, quote, "You are young, you love each other, everyone has the right to happiness. Therefore, live your life. Do not flee happiness. Do not fear marriage, even though under capitalism marriage, it was truly a chain of sorrow." Talking about under a capitalist economy, which is what we have right now, and a capitalist way of living, that type being married, the family unit in that time is actually a chain of sorrow. I'm going to keep reading. There is no escaping the fact the old type of family has had its day. The family is withering away not because it is being forcibly destroyed by the state, but because the family is ceasing to be a necessity. The state does not need the family because the domestic economy is no longer profitable. The family distracts the worker from a more useful and more productive labor. The members of the family do not need the family either because the task of bringing up the children, which was formerly theirs, is now passing more and more into the hands of the collective. Guys, if you cannot open your eyes and see what is happening right now in the world, this was written in 1920. By a Russian communist, by a Marxist. And she is saying in 1920 that the foundation of the actual nuclear family, the traditional family that is going away, that is no longer needed because in a communist society, the family becomes irrelevant, and that the upbringing and the education that a family parents are not capable of actually giving their kids the education they need. And so the upbringing and upraising is actually the responsibility of the collective society. Hello, TikTok. All these dumb kids out there that are watching all these senseless videos every single day and saying, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I want to be a dink when I grow up." Think. Wake up. This stuff is outrageous. This is the workings. These are the building blocks that are being put in place to push our society towards a socialist, communist society where our freedoms are completely taken away from us. And this is how they're doing it. If they can convince a generation or a large portion of a young upcoming generation that having kids is a burden, that being a parent is going to take away from your happiness of life, this is brainwashing 101, and it's outrageous. You don't believe me? I'll prove it to you even more. What about China? China's a communist country. Did you know that in China, up until the late 1970s, Chinese families could only have one child? They were only permitted to have one kid. Then that changed, and they were able to then have two kids up until the mid-2000s. And then in 2016, they said, okay, you can have a maximum of 3 kids in China. The government is telling their people how many kids that they can actually have. You think we're far away from that here in the U.S.? I'll tell you what, if a bunch of these commie left-wing radical nuts get into power, even more than they already are now, and they're talking about, why do you think there's such an attack on gender identity? All of this rhetoric is attacking one thing, the family. And I'm telling you, folks, this is what's wrong with our society. There are evil people who want to destroy future generations. They want to be the ones to tell our kids who they are, what they can be. And look, because faith is one of our values, I don't just want to talk about this from a political perspective. I want to talk about it from a faith-based perspective. The idea of consumerism, the idea of material wealth in the Bible is frowned upon. Look at the rich young ruler who came to Jesus. He said, "What do I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said, "Sell everything that you have, give everything that you have to the poor, and come and follow me." And the rich young ruler went away broken because he loved his possessions. And what did Jesus say? He said it would be easier for a camel to enter to the eye of a needle than for a rich man to be saved. Right? What did the Bible say? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Not to lay up for ourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust doth corrupt and destroy, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. And speaking of treasures in heaven, the Bible repeatedly tells us that children are a gift from God. That children are God's gift to us. Every single life, every single child that is born, it is a gift from God Almighty. Go back all the way to Genesis. God creates Adam, right, in his likeness. Then he creates the woman from the man. And then what does he do? He says, go be fruitful and multiply. Go have babies. Go make children. Let me show you some scriptures in the Bible that talk about how children are a blessing from God. Proverbs 17:6 says, Children's children are a crown to the aged, and the parents are the pride of their children. Proverbs 127, 3-5, children are a heritage from the Lord, their offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. Come on, guys, this is God's word. God says children are a gift. Jesus Christ loved children. He loved their presence around them. So much so, Mark chapter 10, verse 14, when Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these." Do you see how the agenda of the left, of these radicals who are promoting this type of ideology, the DINK movement, how it's not only an attack on our freedoms, but it's also an attack on Christian faith? How it's trying to brainwash a society of young people that are coming up to believe that kids are a burden. Look, anyone who's ever been a parent knows that parenting is not easy, right? It comes with its challenges. No one's sitting here denying that. It comes with challenges, but nothing worth anything in life is easy. And the idea that we should subscribe to a lifestyle of work and materialism, to be with another person, to just simply spend all of your money on lavish things, to be able to travel. And again, I go back to it. You know how many people I know that are parents that travel, that take their kids on vacations, that go in places that have money? It's just, it's stupidity. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it, but I can't. It's just outright stupidity. It's ridiculous. What do we take away from this? Number one, if you're a parent already, please start educating your children. Please start teaching them the values of God's word. Start teaching them values of freedom. Help them be aware of the devices that are working against them. And I don't mean the physical device like a phone. I mean that too. But help them be aware of this rhetoric, because I'm going to tell you something. Whoever children hear something from first, from an authoritative figure, that's going to be the strongest voice in their life. You've experienced it maybe as a parent. Oh, my teacher said this. No, it's not. But my teacher said. Why? Because that person is an authority figure in their life and has great influence over their thought development. It's called the power of first mention. So you and I, as parents, we need to teach our children, hey, you hear people talking about this. This is not what we believe. This is not right. And this is why, because God's word says that children are a gift from God. Look at your kids in the eyes and say, you are God's gift to me. You are the greatest blessing that God has ever given to me. Your life matters. You have purpose. And when you grow up, I want you to be an amazing father. You're going to be an amazing father. You're going to be an amazing mother. You're going to be an amazing person. And God, your purpose doesn't come from money. Your purpose doesn't come from an identity given to you by the world. Your purpose doesn't come from your job. Your purpose comes from God. And your purpose is to be a light in darkness. You need to start talking to your children that way. We need to talk to our children that way, because I'm telling you what, the world and Satan himself is coming after your kids. It's coming after their minds. So dinking is stinking thinking. It's just crazy to me. If you want to learn more about these, check out the articles. I have a bunch of articles on this in the show notes. And take a stand. Take a stand for truth. All right, let's get into Monday motivation. Quote of the week: to thine own self be true. William Shakespeare. To thine own self be true. This week I want to talk to you about the art of self-reflection. In my life, this has been a part of my personal development and my personal growth over probably the last 5 years, and that is learning the art of self-reflection. Self-reflection is the ability to look inwardly, to look at your inward man, and to really examine yourself fully and wholly with an objective and truthful lens. That's what self-reflection is. And it's important, I believe, for everyone to have moments of self-reflection, because without self-reflection, without looking inwardly, a lot of times what happens is we have a false sense of who we are, or there's areas, blind spots that can develop in your life simply because you haven't spent time to really examine who you are. And this is a biblical concept. James chapter 1, verse 22 through 24 says this: don't fool yourself into thinking that you're a listener when you are anything but. Let the word go in one ear and out the other. Act on what you hear. Those who hear and don't act are like those who glance in a mirror, walk away, and 2 minutes later have no idea who they are or what they look like. Now he's talking about hearing God's word and applying it to your life. He says if you hear God's word but you don't apply it, you're like someone who goes and looks in the mirror, sees how they are, and then walks away and forgets who they are. I think self-reflection has a lot to do with this idea of looking in the mirror and being truthful and honest about who you really are. At its heart, self-reflection means setting aside time to think deeply and evaluate yourself, evaluate your thoughts, your motives, your attitude, and your desires. This is what self-reflection does for you. Number one, it keeps you honest. It keeps you honest with yourself. Whether it's an interaction that you've had with somebody, whether it's just where you're at in your life, taking time to stop and really look inwardly, look in the mirror and say, okay, these are the things that I need to work on. These are the things that are wrong. Self-reflection keeps you honest. Self-reflection also helps you gain perspective. This is part of the art of self-reflection, but learning to examine yourself through multiple lenses, right? Say you get into a disagreement with someone. You have two opposing viewpoints, and that person says, well, I think this about you, or I think this about that situation. You completely disagree. But later, if you go back and you examine yourself and you try to look through their lens, okay, well, why do they feel this way? Why do they feel the way that they do? Why do they believe what they believe? And is there truth to that? Learning to look at yourself through other lenses gives you that perspective. Self-reflection improves your decision-making skills. If at all possible, whenever there's important decisions to be made in your life, you should really, really think long and hard before you do. Don't be swift to make important decisions, but make self-reflection part of your decision-making process. Then you'll have a more sound base for your decisions. Self-reflection facilitates learning. Some of the greatest moments of growth in my life have happened because of self-reflection, because of time of reflection. And self-reflection, it fosters your confidence and self-awareness. When I know where I sit in life, when I know what things I need to work on, when I know what things are going well in my life, when I'm very self-aware, it gives me more confidence because now I can identify my goals better and I can find a way to work towards that. And so I have confidence because I'm not questioning my identity. I'm not questioning my purpose, but I have confidence in who I am. So I want to give you 7 tips on the art of self-reflection. Number 1, find a place to think. You need a place that's free of distractions, a place where people are not going to bug you, and you need to find a place that you can just have some time to think. For some people, it's a coffee shop. For some people, it's maybe just a room in your house. For some of you, it's going on a drive. Wherever it is, you need a place where you can literally turn off all distractions. Communicate with those that you love. Hey, I'm going to go out for a little bit. I'm just going to focus. Maybe it's on the golf course. I don't know. You need to find a place where you can make time to think, free of distraction. It's hard to reflect when there's a lot of things happening. If the TV's on, it's hard. You need a distraction-free zone. Number 2, write down your thoughts. Putting it down on paper, I don't know why it helps, but it does. Writing out your thoughts on paper, writing out the things that you're examining yourself, you're looking in that mirror, and so you start to write out. One of the things that I like to do is I kind of categorize. And so I'll say, okay, things that are going well for me, things that aren't going so well for me, areas, my strengths, my weaknesses, and you start to write those out. Number 3, be completely honest with yourself. The whole point of self-reflection is to look inwardly with an honest, objective lens. If you can't be honest with yourself, if you can't tell yourself the things you need to work on, then you're going to have a really difficult time with this. It takes honesty. You have to really be open, be truthful, hide. You more than anyone else. You know your greatest weaknesses. You know your greatest failures. You also know your greatest strengths. So be honest with yourself. Number 4, identify your strengths. That's really important in self-reflection. What things am I good at? Because if your reflection is all about negativity, if it's all a time of negativity and just, oh, woe is me, you're going to be a really depressed person really quickly. It's important to have balance when you're reflecting. Okay, these are the good things in my life, but these are the areas that I need to improve. So identify your strengths. Number 5, identify your weaknesses. It is important to review your weaknesses and to think about them and to really give time to them. So identify what areas you can improve. And sometimes that takes time to really understand. Sometimes that's hearing feedback from other people. If one person tells you, hey man, you're always this way, okay, maybe 2 people, just start thinking about it more. 3 or more people telling you, oh, this person always gossips. This person, okay, now you need to really start thinking, okay, maybe this is something that I should think about. Maybe this is an area that I should improve. Number 6, set goals for improvement. Once you've identified your strengths, you've identified your weaknesses, okay, now I have something to work with. Now I can work towards something. And so you need to write down your goals. And then again, we talked about this last week, but make your goals realistic. I want to work on improving my relationship with someone. I want to work on improving my communication. I want to work on improving my attitude. And this is how I'm going to do it. And number 7, and probably one of the greatest important factors of self-reflection, is find a coach or a mentor, a confidant, someone that you can talk to, that you can share some of your personal, intimate things of your life with, someone that can guide you, someone that can say, hey, look, this is great. You're identifying these things, but what about this? Or someone that can keep you accountable. Hey, are you working towards your goals? Are you working towards improving? This is all important. If you're not aware of who you are, if you're not looking inwardly, then how are you growing? How are you going to identify opportunities for growth in your life? So the art of self-reflection is so important. I think it's something that everybody should practice, especially as we get closer to the new year and you're getting ready to make some New Year's resolutions. I want to encourage you to really take some time. Make this a part of your regular disciplines. Maybe once a week. You have a smaller session once a month. But definitely having a moment of self reflection. To thine own self be true. If you can't be honest with yourself, if you can't look inwardly, you'll never be able to be honest with others. And you'll never really be able to grow to the potential that you have inside of you, to the person that God created you to be. I want to offer you some Mad Dad recommendations of some tools that you can use to help you with this. One of the tools that I personally use for my self-reflection is called the Men's Journal. It's the Men's Mind Journal, and I'm showing it here in the camera for those of you who can see it. It's called the Men's Mind Journal. You can find this on mindjournal.com. And what I love about it is that it's a guided journal. It's not just blank pages, but it has 30 different guided prompts to walk you through to help you on your journey to discover more about yourself, to set goals, and to really do some introspection. I think it's really important. Another recommendation, something that I found earlier this week and I have been using all this week, and I think it's great, is called the Motivation app. It sends you an encouraging motivational thought every day. So I have mine set up to start right first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. I get a notification, and it's just a little 1 sentence or 2 sentence thought for the day, and it's always very encouraging thoughts, about starting your day right, having the right mentality, being your best. I shared some of them earlier this week on our social media platforms, and so I really want to encourage you to download the Motivation app. Take a look within and say, hey, I want to be a better person. Hey everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and being part of the show today. As we get ready for Christmas, which is just around the corner next Monday, I will be posting an episode on Christmas morning, and it'll be a little bit more fun, a little bit lighter, but we really appreciate your support. Again, we ask you, subscribe and join the tribe. Click the subscribe button and become part of the Mad Dad tribe. We thank you so much for your support. All right, everybody, this has been the Mad Dad Podcast. I hope you have a wonderful week. And always remember, stay mad, stay motivated.